Once upon a time, long before smartphones and traffic jams, there were 8 legendary immortals in Chinese folklore, each with a flair, a story, and a magical trick up their sleeve. People called them the 8 Immortals, kind of like a mythical all-star squad from ancient China. Let's count them off, shall we? Crutch Li, Han Zhongli, Lo Dongbin, Zhang Golao, Lan Kaiha, He Xiangdiu, Han Xiangzi, and Cao Goju. Each one had their own style, their own story, and their own supernatural specialty. If you imagined them as the Avengers of Daoist mythology, you wouldn't be too far off. And today our story begins with the leader of this legendary group, Crutch Li. Now his real name? Li Zhuan. But folks rarely call him that anymore. Why? Well, it's quite the tale. Li Zhuan was once a perfectly healthy, even handsome, young man, a natural-born spiritual talent with a noble bearing and a sharp mind. But after a soul-traveling mishap, yes, that's a thing in Daoist practice, he lost his physical body and had to borrow the nearest available one, which happened to belong to a beggar with a limp and a crutch. From then on, people knew him as Crutch Li. The name stuck. His real name kinda didn't. But don't let the shabby appearance fool you. Crutch Li had the spirit of a sage. Even as a young man, barely in his 20s, he wasn't interested in making money, getting married, or chasing official titles like everyone else. Nope. While others were studying for imperial exams or dreaming of luxury, he was staring at the stars and pondering the truth of the universe. He believed that everything under heaven is temporary. Fame is poison. Desire is an axe. It cuts down your true self. Even the power of emperors, the riches of kings, to him, they were no more real than clouds floating by. He saw the world as a dream, a fleeting illusion, and he wanted out. So he made a bold decision. Leave everything behind. Seek the truth. Become immortal. No more fancy clothes, no more family dinners. He waved goodbye to his relatives, slung a bag over his shoulder, and disappeared into the mountains. He found a remote, quiet valley, built a simple stone door, pulled together some thatch for a bed, sat down cross-legged, closed his eyes, and began to train. He practiced breathing exercises, meditated for days at a time, and lived off spring water and mountain air. He got so deep into it he'd forget to eat, forget to sleep. Seasons passed, and he barely noticed. But after years of lonely training, he had a realization. Even with all this effort, I'm still just figuring things out on my own. It's like trying to understand the ocean using a teacup. He needed a real master, a guide, a teacher. Then he remembered the name whispered by Daoist students across the land. The great Lord Lao, Taishang Laozang, the ancient patriarch of Daoism himself, a true sage, a living example. And rumor had it, he lived on Mount Hua. The choice was clear. Crutch Li packed up his things, rolled up his grass mat, and set out. He walked by day, slept under the stars by night, drank from mountain streams, ate wild berries. Every step took him farther from the world and closer to the Tao. Sometimes he'd stop to recite a little poem to himself. Who forged this world like a blazing furnace? Let my body be tempered into steel. A man who sees through illusions is already halfway to heaven. Days turned into weeks, weeks into months. Finally, one morning, The great peaks of Mount Hua came into view, sharp cliffs rising into the clouds, pine trees stretching toward the sky, mist swirling around the rocks like silk scarves in the wind. It was breathtaking. The air was crisp, the flowers fragrant, the sound of water echoing through the canyons. It felt like a place where gods might live. He paused, took a deep breath, and whispered another verse. Crystal clear springs, wild blossoms in bloom. White clouds gather and part. Surely this is where true immortals dwell. But as the sun dipped below the horizon and the new moon rose, Li realized it wouldn't be polite to show up at a sage's doorstep in the middle of the night. So he found a quiet place at the base of the mountain, wrapped himself in his robe, and settled down for the night. Tomorrow he would climb. Tomorrow he might meet the sage of sages, and his journey just might truly begin.